Hi, I'm Tessa, and welcome to Little Lady Homestead. Today I'm in the garden because it is a beautiful day. We had cold weather all last week, and this week it's in the 50s and it's sunny and nice, but tomorrow it's supposed to start raining. So before the ground gets too cold, I wanted to get my garlic in the ground, and hopefully it stays warm because I have like 250 or 300 bulbs coming tomorrow. So I wish it wasn't raining, but at least I can get this done, and then hopefully by the end of the weekend I'll be able to get those bulbs planted as well. So today I am working on garlic. I didn't buy seed garlic. I bought just organic garlic from the grocery store. So I am going to take out each of the cloves so that I can plant each one, and then hopefully I will have probably about 50 different garlic plants in, I think it takes 6 or 7 months. Oh my gosh, this is just 3 cloves. Look how big this is. So I didn't get to grow any garlic this year, which is really disappointing because garlic is really our favorite. I use multiple cloves every week. In fact, my 2 favorite recipes require a lot of garlic. I really love making just simple spaghetti, but I make it with our breakfast sausage actually. It was an experiment that my kids ended up loving, and I actually love the flavor of the breakfast sausage in the spaghetti sauce. So I just brown that breakfast sausage and add 2 cloves of garlic, probably only 1 if it was this big, and then add the spaghetti sauce, and it's delicious. And then I also love to make chicken teriyaki, which requires garlic as well. So we definitely want to have garlic available. We'd love to have it from here in our garden. So since we have the nice weather and I'm thinking about it, I'll plant some garlic, and I think it takes 6 or 7 months, then we'll have some to use in the kitchen. I have not planned where I'm going to plant anything in my garden next year. And in a perfect world, I would have a beautiful Excel spreadsheet where I have everything mapped out to scale, and I have the dates of everything that I'm going to plant, when I'm going to plant and harvest, and I just don't have time for that. Maybe one day, yes, but today, no. And so I'm just going to plant, and then probably afterwards, I will just draw on a piece of paper with my cattle panel trellises that I have next to me as a reference where this row is, so I know where not to plant next year, and I know where my garlic will be. So I'm going to go ahead and plant these. I have my cloves ready, and I'm going to plant them at a depth of 3 inches, so probably about 2 inches above the top of the clove with the pointy end facing up. And I'm going to plant them about 12 inches apart. So I'm not sure, I have quite a few cloves here. I'm not sure how far it'll go. I have some, I think that's cauliflower. I don't even know. I planted it over the summer for a fall garden, and the beetles just demolished them. And so I just kept them. I thought, why not just keep them and try it out? And they did start to come back, but just not soon enough. So now, or well, probably 2 weeks ago, they were really healthy. And then when we had the freezing temperatures all last week, they're pretty wilted and dead. So if I run into any of those, I'll probably just chop them down and let them compost down and then plant around them. So I'm not sure how far in this row I'll get, but I'll just plant until I run out. One thing that I definitely don't want to do this year, which I was definitely guilty of this year, is just plant things way too close together. Oh look, this one's starting to sprout. My poor corn was so stunted. It really did not grow, and that might not have been the reason why. Maybe the ground wasn't fertile enough. That's possibly why we didn't fertilize that area. So, I mean, that's possible, but I think I really did just plant it way too close together. So that is something that I want to focus on this year. I don't think that we'll have that problem because we are in the process right now of doubling the size of our garden. Right now we have about a 45 by 60 foot garden, and we just added another 60 feet of length. So we'll have 45 feet by 120 feet. And this year, when it was just 45 by 60, half of that was my flower garden and half of it was the vegetable garden. And so all of the new garden space that we're adding on is just going to be for vegetables. So I won't have the problem of crowding my poor corn. I'll have plenty of space, and I do want to grow a larger variety of vegetables as well, and just more in general. I actually did plant quite a few cloves of garlic in the, no, not in the fall, in the spring, but that was my first time ever planting garlic, and I probably made mistakes, but also in the summer, maybe in the late spring, my pigs got out and they completely ate all of the garlic tops, so I just couldn't find any of it. So maybe they grew and they were just fine and I just didn't find it, but needless to say, we did not get a garlic harvest. So another thing about my garden for next year, other than not really planning it out yet, like I said, I am expanding the garden. I did use tarps starting at the end of summer. I started tarping off areas. I have two 20 by 30 foot tarps that I use to prepare the ground, at least just kill off the grass, and then I'll go back and till and hopefully cover that and have it ready for spring. And I did want to tarp one more area, but it started to get too cold and I didn't think it would be effective. But then I remembered, wait a minute, I have goats. So I expanded the goat yard to include this area behind me. This is about 20 feet by 60 feet, and I figured, well, they'll help kill the grass for sure because they'll eat any amount of green grass that they can. And also their manure really helps fertilize that soil too. So I thought it was a win-win, and again, they're close to the house, so I get to see them close up. So I'm excited to use this area for my garden next year to expand that area. I probably will have this corner be my flower garden, and probably half of the area that I had as my flower garden last year, and then all of the rest will be vegetables. So I'll get back to my garlic. So far I am pretty happy with the condition of our soil. We really didn't do much at all to it this last year by means of fertilizing or putting compost on it. I did put a small amount of commercial fertilizer on there just to have something, but we really don't have too bad of clay soil here. There's a ton of clay soil, but in different spots it's better and worse. This was a pasture before we made it into a garden, and there was a lot of clover, and so I'm hoping that the soil stayed pretty healthy, but I am completely new to this, so I really have no idea. I'm just doing my best. I'm hoping that things like the leaves and the wood chips, and I am starting to collect rabbit manure to use as fertilizer, and we're using the chickens to start composting. I'm really hoping that we can improve the quality of the soil even more. Right now it seems like since I made these raised rows, there's enough drainage through these rows. The rain, or the water when it rains, definitely goes down the low spots of the rows, and I think it does a good job of draining, which makes me happy. So I think at least that far we're good. I just want to keep adding organic material back to the soil to make it more fertile, because again, I had really bad luck with some of my crops this year, and probably it's just because I'm new and don't know much what I'm doing, but I want to make sure that I'm taking care of the soil as much as I can. And also, I think I said in one of my previous videos that we had gotten guineas for the garden, and we did. I was planning on making a video about bringing guineas to our homestead. But then they all died. It's so bad. Matt had been talking to me about them for quite a while because we had a lot of beetles in the garden this year, and they demolished the broccoli and the Brussels sprouts never had a chance. And there were quite a few crops that I think just had a lot of pressure from the pests. And I don't really want to use pesticides if I can help it in the garden. So he was talking to me about guineas, that they are excellent for not scratching up gardens and for eating pests. So I thought, well, I was a little bit nervous. I'm still kind of nervous about how loud they are. And so I'm still not 100% sure if they're a good fit for us, especially because the garden is right outside the back door from our living room. But it would be amazing to have them in the garden, eating the pests, dropping manure, and not having to put any pesticides in the garden. So we got 5 guineas when we were just walking up and down rows at Rural King, and the person who was helping us out there said, oh, well, you don't have to worry about guineas because once you buy them, they don't die as easily as chicks, and so you should have an easy time with them. And I have raised plenty of chicks now. I think maybe 150 chicks by this point, and I don't lose that many when they're little. And so I thought, okay, well, good. I bought 6 of them, and the first day one died. Okay, that happens, unfortunately. And so I called them, and they do have an exchange policy if your chick dies within a day. So they gave me a new guinea. And then the second day, one died. Okay, I replaced that one. The third day, another one died. The fourth day, another one died. I replaced 3, and I ended up with 3. So that means 6 of them died. And I was feeding them the correct food. I had them set up. They had heat, they had water, they had everything. And so I don't know why they kept dying, but I had a horrible time. And so I thought, okay, it's too late in the season to just keep buying more. I'm going to wait until spring and just start with the 3 that I have. Well, then they got big enough that I usually start moving them outside when they're fully feathered and they just don't want to be cooped up in a little brooder inside. So I set up a little pen for them outside. I monitored them for a couple hours to make sure that they wouldn't get out. And right when I trusted them, I just left them alone outside in their enclosure. And then probably 2 hours later, I went out and they were all gone. Oh my goodness. And again, at that point, it's too late to get any more. So I figured, okay, well, that guinea experiment is over, at least for this year. But then we found one of the guineas, and guineas are very evasive. Just, they are so hard to catch. Usually with chickens, I can catch them pretty easily, but guineas, no. And so when we found this guinea, my kids came and told me about it, that it was just kind of sitting there. I thought, oh, that's not a good sign. And it just let me go right up to it and pick it up. Okay, that's really not a good sign. And so I picked it up, I put it back in the brooder box, and we took care of it, I think for another 3 weeks, because I wanted it to get nice and big before I tried to let it outside again, especially because at that point my only plan for what to do with one guinea, because they should live in groups, not by themselves. So my plan was to just move them with the chickens, and so or move it with the chickens. So I wanted it to be big enough. And so it was big enough, but it was getting out all the time, and I was getting a little bit sick of chasing it all around the garage. I hear a guinea crying. I open up the door and this is what I find. Guinea, you're not allowed on the tractor. You are not allowed on the tractor. I know you're by yourself, but you have to stay in your brooder. And so I thought, well, you know what? The bunnies have a very secure area. I'll move it in with the bunnies. And within a day, that guinea thought it was a bunny. It was snuggling with the bunnies. It was just a perfect setup. And then I think it was like that for about a week. And then one day I went out there and it was just gone. So I don't know if an owl got it or something like that, or maybe it just flew out. I did clip its wings before I put it in there, but it's just gone. So that was my experiment with guineas. We won't start off the growing season with guineas in the garden because we don't have any. We might possibly get more in the spring, I'm not sure. Again, I still am a little bit hesitant to get them because of the noise, but I would love something like that where I could enclose the perimeter of the garden and have an animal in here eating the pests and fertilizing the garden, and I don't even have to worry about either of those. So I don't know, I might consider it more. I just finished planting my garlic, and fingers crossed for me. I hope that it pops up in the spring, and I hope that we get a good harvest next year. I'm a little bit nervous, but might as well try. Might as well throw it in the ground and see what happens. Thank you so much for following along with me today and having a little bit of a chat. Thank you for watching Little Lady Homestead, and I'll see you in my next one.